Hey everybody, I got out to one of my out yards the other day and I wasn't sure at that time if I was going to do any invasive inspections or not. And it turned out to be a pretty nice day. It was, the temperature jumped up pretty quick, bees were really active, and I made a decision to do some inspections and I caught it on video. I got a lot of video footage. Unfortunately, after watching the video footage, I realized that the production value is pretty low. I don't think I could have put the camera at a worse angle on the first hive that I inspected, and the ones after that weren't much better. I was not going to post the video at all, but then I realized there may be some good info in there still. So I just want to, give you a heads up that the video quality is not that great. It's a train wreck, but hopefully you'll still enjoy it and be able to learn from it. And I learned from it. I know what I'm going to do in my future videos, how to set the camera up better. I learned how the other camera, the GoPro that I use out in the field, translates, and I know how to present frames closer to point things out. And today I just picked up a wireless lapel mic, external mic for both cameras, so I think the audio should probably improve noticeably as well. I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you. So my last video was a video in my garage talking about nature's calendar versus our calendar and timing your pre-spring and spring activities. I wasn't planning on doing a video today. I may still not. I got to see what happens when I get in these hives, but I suspect we may get some footage of inside a hive. Not in my home yard right now. I'm in a little bit of a warmer zone. It's still getting pretty mild even at my home yard, but right here it's sunny out. It's not too windy. Little, gentle breeze, and I've already determined that if I see some full hives, I can gather some info. I'm not going to do really invasive inspections if I do get around to it. I'm going to be pulling some frames and seeing how they're brooding up. I mean, right off the bat, just pulling up here, I can see that all these hives are alive right now. There's another section of hives way back there, deeper in the woods. There's 4 hives there. I'm assuming that they're probably in the same condition. They don't get as much sun as this. These bees are pretty active actually for hives just coming out of winter. I suspect that I'll be doing some manipulations in the very near future, mainly equalizing these hives out. So let's see what happens when I pop the lids to check on the stores. All right, so just as expected, these hives are pretty active, this one anyway, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be representative of most, if not all, the hives over here. Just take their fondant off. I may or may not put this back on. They're not really touching it that much. And I'm looking down between the frames here, and I see full frames of stores yet. So, and the reason why, I mentioned in a previous video, I'm not a big fan of fondant. Sometimes the moisture, it doesn't absorb moisture like the mountain camp sugar, and it will start melting a little bit. It gets a little messy in the hive. So if I feel like I don't need fondant and it's, wow, this hive is packed, I may just take it out of this hive. The hive bottom is frozen to the bottom of the stand, so I can't do a heft test, but I will do a visual to get an idea, since I am definitely going to be pulling frames. These bees are active. I want to talk about some things that I went over in the past. We haven't really talked about PPE too much. In one of my videos, I was a little irresponsible and forgot my veil. What I typically wear is just a mosquito net that I get from Walmart for like $4 in the camping section, and put it over a hat or my hoodie. That doesn't mean that you as a new beekeeper need to do that, and I don't even think you should. There's no heroism to going into your hives with minimal PPE. I suited up just shy of an astronaut when I first started out. I had the big jacket with the hood and everything. I wore heavy pants. I wore the big beekeeping gloves. And as time goes on, you're going to decide, you know, PPE that you can shed. And it just got to a point where in the middle of August with that big jacket on, you know, getting stung a few times was, you know, way less of a discomfort than wearing that jacket when it was 95 and, you know, 99% humidity. So again, don't feed your ego and think that you need to go in there without PPE. In fact, as a new beekeeper, I think you should suit up pretty good, at least with the jacket and the hood and some heavy pants, mainly because you want to be more concerned with getting information and learning how to keep your bees, not worried about, oh, am I going to get stung? You're going to get used to getting stung. It's just going to happen. That's probably a concept that's a little difficult to comprehend when you first go into a hive. It just becomes part of beekeeping. I'm not going to sit here and say I like getting stung. I don't. But it's just not a big deal. It just becomes something that you do and what happens. I talked about a quiet box. That's a quiet box. It's just a deep super. That's all. Put stuff aside to get out of your way. I pulled from this side because there's really no, you know, these two frames have no bee activity. I'm going to remove both of these frames, put them in the quiet box just to get them out of my way. We're in a vulnerable time of year right now. I don't want to hurt that queen. But by pulling those two frames out, you know, it gives me all of this room to deal with. There's no queen on there. So you know what? I'm taking 3 frames out. It just gives you that comfort and that freedom to work, and it just makes things easier for you. I've already made the decision that I don't need to put the fondant back on this hive because I just pulled out 3 solid frames of honey. This would be number 4. Now what I'm looking for is just some eggs or signs of a laying queen, even though we already know there's a laying queen in here, or there was at least through winter, because if your queen petered out during winter or died, your population would die. And this hive was obviously maintaining. There, we got capped brood. We got open larvae. We have eggs. I'm not going to look for a queen. If she shows up, that would be awesome. I'll point her out to you, but I'm not specifically looking for a queen. I'm just getting information. Yeah, this is like exactly what I want to see. I'm also noticing there's no drone brood just yet. They haven't even started, from what I can tell. She hasn't started laying any drones. It's kind of a good thing for me. It just makes me feel a little at ease. I still have a little bit of time. I'm seeing everything I want to see right here. Now I'm noticing down below, I'm not going to pull these boxes apart, but there's nothing going on down below. I'm hoping that there is some empty frames down there. I'm going to assume there is. That box can't be full of stores. So yeah, this hive is right off the bat, this is going to go in my notes as just a strong booming hive. Yeah, lots of new eggs. She's just laying consistently. I'm gonna pack this hive up. I saw all that I need to see. I don't need to see anymore. And I don't want to risk hurting the queen. I was probably even in this hive a little too long, just because we're doing a video here and I want to give you something to look at. But once I saw those eggs and larvae in this population and that there was nothing in the bottom box, I can make a good note on this hive and get an idea of what I'm going to do moving forward. So what we spoke about in the past video was equalizing your hives. This would be a candidate for pulling from and donating to a weaker hive from. This is a good strong hive. This is what you want to see coming out of winter. This box, if they don't work their way down into that bottom box, this would be a candidate for equalizing, because there's literally nothing going on in that bottom box. I'm very relieved to see some empty frames down there. Plenty of stores, equal amount of stores on the opposite side of the hive as well. And what they're going to do is, as they eat those stores, she's going to backfill those frames and with eggs and start laying up in those. I'm going to say that this hive is, if all my hives are like this, I'm going to be really happy. Okay, there's something I just wanted to point out to everybody on this hive. That right there is just, that's bee excrement. I noticed that a couple visits ago over the winter. I wasn't concerned about it then. Still not concerned about it. A lot of people, it's funny, if you read something that's a problem as a new beekeeper and then you see something that even closely resembles it, in your mind you have that issue. A lot of beekeepers would probably come along, or new beekeepers, and go, oh my god, I have no SEMA, my bees have no SEMA. They don't. That's just a little dysentery. They probably held it in for a very long time because they do not go to the bathroom in the hive. And then when the time came for them to get a cleansing flight, maybe they had a nice day in February, they got out, it was a photo finish to the bathroom, as we would call it. So that's what that's all about. Okay, so just something I want to point out on this hive. You see all that shiny nectar? That's new. They brought that in this year. So the other hives had it too, and I wasn't sure if it was just uncapped, you know, and never got capped from last year. But then I'm thinking it would be crystallized by now if that was the case. And plus this one, when I gave the frame a little shake, it came flying out. So that's not honey, that's nectar. So they, you know, at some point, maybe some of the maples started blooming and flowered, you know, 1 or 2 days. I don't know exactly what's blooming in the area. I know witch hazel blooms really early. So they got on something and they brought some nectar in. Now, by no means, that's not a flow by any means. I'm not suggesting that we're on a flow. It's just kind of to my point about March in the Northeast and in New Jersey. You just never know. Something can bloom and then you get 3 to 5 inches. You know, we just had 3 to 5 inches again 2 days ago. My last video, we were getting 3 to 5. We just got it again. And today it's already about 60 degrees out now. So, they got on something. All right, so this hive has some drone brood too. Look what I'm pointing out right there. There she is. I wasn't looking for her. She just kind of stood out. This time of season is really easy to spot queens, even when you're not trying. There's no drones actually out and about and walking around, so the queen tends to stick out like a sore thumb. This hive is a little lighter on stores, but it obviously we had a whole hatch out. This used to all be capped. She's backfilling the capped brood. I don't see nectar in there. We're not concerned. Again, a little early for swarms. I have had swarm cells appear in, I think the earliest was 3rd week of April. I'm not going to take that for granted and assume that it can't happen. Again, my beekeeping season started today after seeing what's going on in this yard. So I will be back here probably every 7 days to make sure, you know, if something does go into a swarm mode, and we'll have a video if you see something go into a swarm mode, what to do. That's going to be a pretty involved video, and it's a few day process. We'll get more into that later. All right, so just want to check back with you guys. I'm up to this big tall hive is the next one I'm going to inspect. I want to address why it's that tall, but first, just to give you an update, so far no hives were in a state where I was concerned about being too weak. Some of them are behind others. This guy on this block right here and this first one on the rack right here, those are the ones, they both have drone brood already in them. This hive right here was pretty strong. That one was pretty strong, no drone. So these 4 hives right here are, and I already wrote it down in my notebook over there, my rusty trusty notebook, that they're going to need attention first, and I already have my eye on them. For all I know, they could be in a swarm mode already. We don't know. That's the thing about swarming I want to talk about. It's not an event, it's a mode. You can see a swarm cell, a bunch of swarm cells, tear them out because you still have your queen in there, and I don't suggest you do that, by the way. They're just going to make more because they're already in the mode. That's why it's so important to not just hastily tear out swarm cells in a panic because you think you're going to stop the swarm. What is really going to happen is if there is no queen in there and there's no viable eggs or young larvae, and those cells are capped because that queen already took off, then you've just destroyed any chance of requeening, that hive requeening itself rather. So that's why we don't just tear out queen cells, swarm cells in a panic. We do tear them out. There's reasons to tear some of them out, and we'll get to that when it comes to the swarm prevention videos. I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but I just wanted to kind of give you something to think about moving forward, because once the swarm season starts, it's just going to start. It's going to turn on immediately, and that's why I'm a little I tend to micromanage my bees throughout swarm season for this reason. The whole idea is to keep the bees in the box and out of the trees. They set back your production, they set back your bees, and if you stay ahead of it, you can actually use the swarm season in your favor if you want to make increases in your hives, and most beekeepers do. And that's why I tell new beekeepers the first thing they want to do is split hives. I want to split, I want to make increases, I want to double my hives. And I tell them, don't. There's going to be a time when they're going to make you do that anyway, and you're going to be in over your head. All right, if I see anything else, I'll turn you guys back on. All right, so this hive here, I just noticed has an awful lot of dead bees on the ground in front of it. That's a little concerning to me, and that's, you know, we saw activity in this hive. You know, I haven't even opened it yet. I'm going to set the camera up and we're going to look at it together and see what's going on with that hive. That, you know, I might have scooped a bunch of dead bees out over winter and forgot about it. I don't know, but that just looks like an awful lot of dead bees, and in comparison to everything else, I don't see anything else. None of these other hives have it. This one has some dead bees down there, you know. So let's crack into it and find out what's going on with this hive. Not, you know, if something's wrong with it, it's not a big deal. I mean, God, I'm at 100% between all my yards. If there's something wrong with this hive and I lose it, it's out of 4 yards. It's the first hive that I have to lose. On last check, all my other yards, you know, every hive was alive. So let's check it out together and see what's going on here. Remember, they're a renewable resource, and if something, you know, you lose a hive or two, or, you know, over winter time, nobody wants to lose hives, I get it, but there's a silver lining. It provides resources. This hive is, so far, it seems like there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know what's going on down there. In fact, it actually seems like it's really strong. In either case, we got to look at it. It might be so strong that that's why there are so many more bees in relation to all the other hives. Or again, I could have cleared this hive out in wintertime and forgotten about it. So let's take this guy. I'm going to heft test it. It feels like it's got some weight to it. This hive, there's nothing wrong with this hive, I'll tell you right now. I don't know what's up with all those dead bees out front.
try to pry your frames, especially the first inspection, because they're propylized. I still don't know the proper pronunciation of that. And what's going to happen is if you rely too much on prying without going back and forth to break those seals, you could pull the top bar right off your honey frame, or I'm sorry, your whatever frame that is. Another reason why, if you build your own frames, glue them. You know, we're doing a lot of prying on these things. In my video on, you know, assembling your equipment, I said I prefer deck mate screws, and I said if you don't want that cost, at least screw the very top. And I mean, you could already see why. I mean, it's a major pry point. This is a good hive. The camera's in a good spot for my inspection here. There's nothing wrong with this hive. Plenty of stores. Nobody's lethargic. It's not starving out. There's capped brood right there under all those bees. There's the queen right there. There she is. She looks nice too, nice plump queen. You know what, she's on this frame. I just want to make sure that there's no bees between the shoulders. That's how she gets crushed, and we don't want to do that. I want to give her enough. I just always assume she's on those shoulders and just go real slow. There we go. I got, you know, a little distracted making the video. Whenever I put a queen frame back, I make sure if I see the queen, I put her back in, I keep an eye on her, and I push the next frame next to her already just to protect her till I can get the hive back. Anytime I don't see a queen, any frame I push together, I just look down at the shoulders of those frames and make sure there's no bees between them before I slowly start pushing. I just got stung. That's about the 4th time I got stung. Just to put this all in perspective, you probably noticed I don't wear gloves. Not encouraging you not to wear gloves. Again, as a new beekeeper, suit up. Don't want you worrying about anything other than processing and, you know, gathering and processing your data and learning the bees. But I just got hit on the finger right there. And again, I just inspected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is my 10th hive I just inspected, and that was the 4th time I got stung. And I'll tell you right now, half of those times are just my fault because I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but I'm kind of like a bull in a china shop, man. So I'm not the daintiest, and I'm sure that energy transfers over to them. I'm an anxious person by nature, so you know, the bees do calm me down a little bit, and they kind of taught me to be calm and a little bit of patience. But by no means has it given me you know, a 100% improvement in the grace department. So to recap what we did today, I still have 4 more hives to do in the far yard here, and you know, I'm not going to bring the camera out. It's going to be a lot of the same here. I don't see anything really different. If I see something significant like a dead out, I'll obviously pop the camera back on. So all I did was I gathered information for moving forward, and the information I found was a couple hives have drone brood, and a lot of these hives are pretty heavy. The whole yard in general was better than I thought it would be. They're not liking where I'm standing, so I'm just going to move y'all this way. I'm getting hot with the hood on and everything, so I had to take all that off. So I know that I'm going to be equalizing these hives. Some of them are going to get reversed because there's little to no action in the bottom boxes. I checked on their food stores. Nobody's in danger of starving out. I left some fondant on those beginning hives, as mentioned earlier. Probably completely unnecessary. I started breaking down. I left some fondant on some of them, and some of them I didn't. It was just how I felt at that particular time when I was going through that hive. None of them probably need the fondant and or sugar, but for whatever reason, some of them I just left it on just in case. I just got stung on the neck. So, I mean, so you just get used to it, man. It's not a bravery thing. It's not a macho thing. You just, when you keep bees, you get stung, and you're going to get used to it. So that's it. So I gather my info. I know that these 4 hives need addressing. I have to basically give them room. We're going to try to equalize. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to equalize within this yard because I don't see any hives that are too far behind. We'll see in a week when I come back out here. If there's nothing to equalize to, I'll start pulling some empty comb from the bottom and bringing it up top into that brood nest. Just because one of the resources that we all forget about is real estate and space and room for the queen to lay. That's a very valuable resource that they have to have. That's what prevents swarming. Moving forward, I'm already thinking about getting some supers on some of these guys so they can start freeing up space. If I start getting too far behind, the supers will go on. I would like a lot of the honey here to get used up before I even think about putting a super on. I may actually, on some of the hives that they're just jam-packed with stores, if they don't start going through those and making brood nests out of them, I might start pulling them. There's just no need to have that much stores at this time of the year in the hive. And I'll swap it out for drawn comb that I have from last year. Last year I purposely threw some deep honey supers on my hives, not because I want to run deep honey supers, but because I wanted that drawn comb. And I knew that once I extracted that was going to give me a head start this year for drawn comb. And that's something that y'all could use moving forward and put that in your back pocket as a trick for drawn comb. Switch to a deep honey super just for the sake of getting them to draw it out. And then you can store that in the wintertime, and then you'll use that up within your first couple weeks of the bee season. I guarantee it. You'll just blow right through that. All right, thanks for joining me today. I'm sorry the video was choppy. I wanted to stop and start at vital points. I'll do my best with editing. It's going to be a choppier video. I'll put I learned how to do the chapter markers for the YouTube videos. So hopefully that'll help you guys out, and you can kind of just sift it through and pick out whichever information you happen to be looking for at the time. And if you want to, watch the video start to finish, I appreciate that. I know it might be a little bit of a painful one to go through, and I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Thanks, I'll see you next time.